Hi everybody, welcome back or welcome to Allie Sew Crafty. Look at this beautiful pouch, right? It's a very popular pouch. It actually, kind of like the first time I saw it was in like 2021. There's a couple of good patterns out there. And I even have a video where I show you how I made this bag, not this one, but another one, step by step from a pattern from Sew Yours. It's not a free pattern and she's not sponsoring this video, but I did that video tutorial where I show you step by step. I followed her instructions exactly, right? So you can watch that video. However, I'll be honest with you, I didn't make any more of these type of pouches because they are complicated to make, especially the bottom here. I just found that it was just a lot and it kind of discouraged me. But lately I've been wanting to make more. So I made this one, I made a couple more, actually 3 more that I have over there. And in today's video, I'm gonna show you how I made, sorry, they're all, these 2. So it's the exact same bag, but just the same, same fabric, okay? And again, I'm using the Sew Yours pattern. Beautiful, beautiful bag. Now, there are actually 8 tips that I'm sharing with you in this video to show you how I was able to kind of make several of these pouches without so much struggle. And I would say the very first tip that I want to share with you is not using foam. Okay, the pattern tells you to use foam, the pattern designer. But I'll be honest with you, it was kind of hard, even not so much for my machine, but for my hands. So I'm using fusible fleece and it works just fine. It keeps the shape because the shape really comes from joining the flap to the side here. So it just makes it easier to use some sort of fusible fleece or batting, things like that, that they're still gonna give the fabric shape, but they're easier to handle. They're easier to work, especially when you have so much bulkiness here in the zipper, in the shape. It's just a lot. So that will be tip number 1, actually. That's the extra. But now I'm going to share with you all the other tips. It's about 7 tips. And number 7, to me, is the most important tip. So make sure you don't miss that. Other than that, thank you so much for being here. And let's go ahead and get started. So tip number 1, I guess, or yeah, because the first tip was extra. So tip number 1 would be being able to cut the entire body of the pouch on one piece. So one pattern piece instead of having to cut the center and then the top and then the bottom, just did all at once. So what I'm going to do now is kind of walk you through how I did that. So what I did is that I took the Sew Yours pattern and I taped them together. Not just, tape them, of course, to make so it came in 3 pattern pieces. So you have to cut 2 pattern, 3 pattern pieces. So what I did is that I joined them all together into one whole pattern piece right here, with the idea of just cutting one piece all at once. It saves me time on just cutting, and then joining. It saves the stitching there, and adding the binding and all of that, which is what I did here with, this is the first one I did. And this is the pattern that I used to make this one, all of them actually. This one and this one, not this one. This one is the So Sweetest. But I noticed as I was making these pouches that when it was time to add the binding or when it was time to do the lining, they were crooked. Like there was something not right. Like when I was joining the lining to the exterior, I always had extra lining, but it's the exact same pattern. So come to find out that after I kind of measure it again, after I did 3 of them, I decided to, check the pattern, see what's going on. And yeah, it's a little bit crooked. It's not perfect. So I printed the pattern again, and this time I, joined all the pieces. So there are no measurements on this, right? No, there are no measurements. So I joined the top, I printed another one, I joined it to the bottom, and then I printed the center, and I measured it, to cover the seam allowance on those 2 ends. And so after I did that and I placed it on top of the original one I had done, I can see that some of this is longer, is shorter here. It's just, it wasn't right. So now that I have it correctly taped and done, I am going to transfer this into freezer paper. So you know how much I love my freezer paper. So once I trace this into another paper, then we're just gonna test it again. We're gonna make another one, and then this is when I'm gonna show you how I changed the process of making the pouch a little bit, which I feel is a little bit easier for me. And I'm just gonna share some of the tips that I'm following as I'm making these pouches. Tip number 2 is to get all the parts of the pouch ready and made. That means the zipper pouch, make the wings, joining the exterior and the lining, and attach the zipper to the top and bottom part of your main body panel of your pouch, the exterior only. And you're going to open the zipper and remove the zipper pulls, because you're just gonna take the zipper apart and attach, stitched, just the top and the bottom, both ends of the body. So let me show you right now real quick how I did that. Okay, tip number 3. You have all your pieces are made, your zipper pouch, your wings. You've attached the zipper to both sides of the body. And now, before you join the lining, you are going to stitch the wings. So these little sides, you're going to stitch them to the zipper area, okay? And that's important because you want this to look finished and to look that's in there. And other patterns that I've seen, other people making them, they wait until the end to add the flap, and then you have that stitch line here, and it's okay. But I like this look better. So go ahead and add your wings, and then you're going to add the lining to the body. So you're going to join them right sides together. So let me show you how I did that. How it looks. So you have your exterior, your lining here, and the sides are here. So now we're just going to turn this right side out. Okay, going to top stitch it all along the top and here on the sides of the entire exterior. So we're going to join the lining and the exterior just by top stitching and really close to the edge, right? Like 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Here's tip number 4. And here I show you how to top stitch your bag with the wing already attached to your pouch. Consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel if you have learned something today. Just make sure that you don't stitch it with the wing like this. You want to stitch it with the wing sticking out. Now, get it here. See how it looks? Here's my zipper, here's the wing, here's the top. And I pretty much gonna continue to go all around the pouch like this. At 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, you know, just top stitching, right? Here's tip number 5, which is adding that little tab to your zipper before you stitch all of it together. So you're adding that little tab to the end of your zipper. That way your zipper pull doesn't want to come off or slide out, and then you stitch the whole thing and then the zipper pull is not inside the bag. You know what I mean? So here's that tip. Once we get to this point here, what we're going to do is square this off a little bit So join, you know, the sides. And I'm going to take the tab that I made. I'm going to pull that zipper pull in. And I am going to slide that tab in there. And I'm going to stitch the tab right through the zipper teeth. And that is going to prevent the zipper pull from sliding out when we're joining this together, okay? I'm going to kind of close the zipper, and I'm going to place the tab where the two pieces of fabric end, where the two pointy edges are. Right there. And I take this to the sewing machine, and I'm just gonna stitch over it. 1/8 of an inch seam allowance or 1/4 inch, doesn't matter. What's important is that it will be over the teeth. So now my zipper pull is not gonna come off, okay? Tip number 6, when you square off your pouch, don't try to stitch it all at once. You want to stitch one section and another section, and then leave the center for the end, because that way the stitching is securing the fabric and it's not going to be sliding in and out. Some people add a stapler. They literally staple the zipper to the fabric during this step, which is something else you can do. I didn't do it because having the fabric that is more manageable without the foam makes it easier to keep the zipper pull and all of that in place. We're going to stitch and stop at about 1 inch. So I can actually put a mark here, and I'm gonna stop there. And I'm gonna do the same here, kind of stop there. So we're gonna stitch, stitch, don't stitch here. 1 inch, about 1 inch from the zipper, the edge of the zipper, approximately, but you know, have an idea. And it's gonna be a little weird. That's why we're stitching it in place first, so that way we can work around the curve here when we're stitching the zipper side, okay? That's important. And here's tip number 7, which to me is almost the most important tip. And this is something that you can, probably do throughout the process of making the pouch, which it is finding the skinniest foot your machine has. In my case, my machine has a 1/8 of an inch foot. It's very skinny. And that helps so much because it's so skinny, it lets me go through a little narrow part. That way, I am not worried that I'm gonna hit the zipper pull or that I don't have enough space. I still want to leave some room, you know, like a 1/4 inch seam allowance for the binding, but having that skinny foot really helps. So the most important tip, find yourself the skinniest foot your machine can take and try to use it throughout the pouch making. Like, I never changed the foot on, and I made these whole pouches using that 1/8 of an inch foot. Maybe you use a zipper foot that is very skinny that your machine provides. And believe me, that is going to make a world of difference when you're making this pouch, especially when you get to this section right here. So let me show you how I did that. And I'm going to use the stiletto or owl, whatever you have, to keep the zipper pull from getting too close to the foot. And of course, having that skinny foot is the only way that you're gonna be able to get through this section. Here it is. Let's stitch this in place. As you can see, my zipper pull is here, and I make sure that every part of the zipper pull, even this, is away from this area. And very carefully, I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna start back stitch, continue, and then get my owl, make sure that it's not touching. See, it's very close. I mean, but it's not touching the needle. So you see, I have to move the fabric a little bit. So you start stitching here, and then you kind of have to move the fabric and continue. Yeah. See, I have to create some seam allowance, so when I trim this off and I put my binding, I have room for the binding and room away from the zipper. Then take a little piece of your material or binding, and then just cover those raw edges. Okay, and again, you're gonna be very careful, and when you get to this section here where the zipper pull is, if you have the right foot, you should be okay. You know, move this a little more. What I like about the ripstop material is that it doesn't fray. I don't have to add interfacing. It's waterproof. It's easy to clean. And it's just so much easier to work with. And it's a little boring because it's like just a solid color. But I don't know. Those other benefits outweigh the fact that it's a solid color. And even for somebody, you know, they want to make sure that they can clean it, wipe it clean, that is waterproof. All that is important when you're using your cosmetic bags. So I'm going to pull my zipper, okay, a little bit in there. I'm going to use like a paper clip here. That's a thick. That's a good clip to keep it in place. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna stitch it, following the line, making sure you don't hit the zipper pull. Now that everything is pretty much done, you know, the binding has been added, everything is good. We take the little zipper pouch here and find the middle point on the flap, on the wing on the side, and slide the zipper pocket in there. Make sure that you get all of it, okay? So and there you have it, you guys. Look at how beautiful these two pouches turned out. Like I said, I made several of these already, and it just makes it so much easier with following these tips or just ways of making this open flat pouch. And I know the not having the foam makes it like very soft, and if you like the foam, then by all means, you know, do that. But in my case, I figure the shape is still there, and I just want to keep my fingers from hurting. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see how I made this one following step-by-step instructions from the pattern, go check out the next video here. Ciao!